much for talking to the Tribune, and lovely watching your film, Fire in the Mountains. And finally, Indian audiences get to watch the film.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long wait, like really long wait, because we started shooting before the pandemic. So writing, shooting, everything happened before the pandemic. And then 2020 came and suddenly the world was shut, like so 2021, part of 22 also sort of, at least 2021 sort of went in lockdown and waiting, and then the pandemic ended, but entire landscape of how we consume cinema had gone through a transformation, like something that would have probably taken 10, 15, maybe 20 years to happened in just 2 years. So we didn't even know like now how to bring this film to audience because everything has changed. Like people were not going to cinema. So the film with much bigger budget and like massive stars uh,
Absolutely.
were dropping on the OTT. So nobody cared for small cinema actually. And I still know many filmmakers, some really good films, which are independent and nobody is buying them. Nobody is showing them because OTT have their hands full with big films. So yeah, I suppose we are very lucky that it's there.
Yeah, in fact, one filmmaker even said that OTT has not done much for indie makers. I mean, like, what is your stand now that your film is on a significant platform, Sony Live?
Yeah, I mean, one can just look at like one can be very pragmatic about it. We don't need to allow our emotions and anything come here when we look at the whether the OTTs are with the independent filmmakers or not. Just look at the data, like how many independent films are they really buying? And the answer is there actually. They are hardly buying any independent films. And when they buy, like I think the last film that I saw was Cello Show, but that's because it was nominated for Oscar, I think, not because they would
Yeah.
have, otherwise they wouldn't have picked it up. I mean, look at this brilliant documentary, Writing with Fire, which also got nominated for Oscar. Also was shortlisted for Oscar, and who is buying it? Nobody. Yeah.
So I mean, like, so would you say Tubber paved the way for you because you already had a reputation, a kind of a rapport with Sony Live?
Yeah, definitely Tubber helped. And yeah, of course, Repo also helped for us to sell it to Sony Live. And but at the same time, like it's sometimes I think many OTT platforms they make the decision of not buying the film without seeing the film, I think. Like
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's really, really possible, and I think it's reality. I hope I'm not imagining this because Fire in the Mountain, I mean, you have seen it, like it's a pacey film. It's not like it's not a it's
Not
not a
like a
contem
typical festival film, as they say.
yeah, it's not a typical festival film. In fact, most of the people who have seen it have always told me that what surprised them was the pace of it. Like they didn't feel like they are watching typical art house cinema where things just don't move or move very slowly. I don't think many other OTT movies tried to send the film, the big one, the big brothers. They even saw the film. Yeah.
So what kind of response are you getting for the film now that it's available on Sony Live?
So, uh, that's something we were just talking. Like I was up there with somebody and we were talking about Hrithik Roshan film called Vikram Veda. Uh, and many other films, like on Geo, like Bhedia also. Like these films, they just dropped on the OTT. There was no publicity, no promotion, nothing. And I was slightly pissed that why Fire in the Mountain was not promoted at all. And then I hear the struggle of mainstream filmmaker like Fobedia and Vikram Veda, and even they were not promoted on the OTT. So the response is like, uh, I think people still, not many people have still seen the film, to be honest, because there has been no traditional publicity like PR or those kind of campaign. But yeah, the best feedback that I have got is from a girl, I forgot her name, and she's from Uttarakhand. And I asked her to not to sugarcoat anything and tell me where I have gone wrong. And she had shared the film's post on her Instagram profile, and she replied that I don't think anybody, I don't think anybody from the mountain could have made this film the way you have made. Tell me, how did you pull it off, like without being from the mountain? And I got the similar feedback from two, three more people who are from Uttarakhand who have been uh, telling me that how I have got the nuances, the culture context, and small details right. So
That
that
was
has been very satisfying. Yeah, yeah.
so. You tell me, you're not from the mountains. How did you get right? Did you do a lot of research? Did you spend a lot of time? Has it actually been shot in Uttarakhand or Himachal Pradesh?
No, we shot it in Uttarakhand in Munshiari on the border of India, Pakistan, and Nepal. So like how I got it. I mean, I don't know whether I got it right or not. I think it's that's something uh, audience or people like you should decide whether I have got it right or not. But I can tell you about how I go about this kind of project or any kind of project actually that I do. So before I got into fiction filmmaking, I was a stringer for international documentary films, mainly French and German documentary film. So my job used to be to go and research on a specific subject, like we made a documentary film on Amarnath Yatra, on maritime history of India, on Manali Leh Highway. So for those films, I was the one who would get the subject from the director that, hey, this is the subject that we want to explore. And most of the director, not all, but most of the director didn't come for the research to India. So I would go, for example, I would go to Leh Manali Highway. I would become friend with the truck driver, with this, that, and I would sit and I would observe. So what I learned slowly while doing the research for those documentary films, I learned something very interesting, which was observe, watch what people do. Don't ask what they do, because when you ask, they tell
Yeah.
you answer that they think will create a better impression or image of them on you. you know
Yeah.
while if you just observe, you find something that is probably contradictory. you know like
Yeah.
like a husband might say that, oh, I have a wonderful relationship with my wife, we love each other and this and that, but then you watch and you see, it's been the entire day and they have not even spoken a single word. you
Yeah.
know so I learned to be learn to observe and not really. And another part of observing is how do you make yourself invisible
Yeah.
you know
Absolutely correct.
so that is a very difficult part for me, to make myself invisible, because I'm somebody, I love to talk and I'm also very enthusiastic. So when I do research, that's where I struggle the most. Like, how do I don't engage so much and just sort of remain in the. So yeah, so to do research, I went to this area called Majkhali in Uttarakhand, and there's a small village. There's a very nice human being from that area called Ajay Rastogi, who is a friend of my friend Ishira Mehta. And it's also how the universe helps you, like I was going to Uttarakhand for research and I happened to stay with Ishira in Delhi. And she like, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to go and I want to stay in the village. And she's like, oh, I know somebody who can help you. So I went, via her, I went to Ajay Rastogi and I stayed with him for a few days. And he found me a place in a village to stay where I stayed for 2 weeks. And that was a very interesting room because it's a small house of a family of 5 or 6 people. So the house was even small even for all of them. And so I was staying in their cow shed. Like they had a cow on the ground floor, and above the cow, I was
Okay.
staying, and we all had one toilet to share, like some six, seven of us. So uh, I had to wake up really early to be able to use the washroom before it gets busy with the entire. And I felt little sad that I should use it before they use it, or I should use it after they have used it. So I started waking up at 3:34 to be able to use it before before the family starts using it. And it's here that I observed so much that became part of the film, like how the women work really hard and men are I can't blame the man also, like it's not like the men don't want to work or they are lazy. It's not like that. It's much more complex, but all those observations came from this village. I also saw a leopard that took away a dog in the night. I mean, I didn't see the leopard, but I also woke up when villagers were shouting. So I came out, I saw, okay, things like this happened. I also observed animal sacrifice, bali वगैरह देते हैं जो in the temple. So lot of information that lot of scene that we have in the film are actually inspired by my time spent in this village. Yeah.
Is it also a personal story? I mean, story of someone you knew. I mean, somebody like your relative or something.
Yeah. So it started like that. Basically, my cousin sister, Amajit Kaur, she died because my brother-in-law didn't take her to the hospital thinking she's possessed by a ghost. So, and that happened in 2018 or 19. Yeah, before I started writing the film. And, it just made me wonder, like 2018, 19, whatever we say, but it's 21st century India, you have
Yeah.
smartphones, internet, so much knowledge, and I was like,
Yeah.
how can we still think like this? You know, and that too in a so-called progressive state of Punjab, where our gurus
Yeah.
have
Stood for.
spoken against it. They have clearly spoken against superstitions and andhvishwas and all that. So that made me angry, a lot angry on my brother-in-law at what happened to my sister. And I knew her very well. I mean, I knew that she wouldn't have made this choice because she was a rational woman. In fact, she was the first in my father's side of the family who did graduation from the college, and inspired many of us to pursue studies seriously. So I knew she wouldn't have made this choice. So I kept thinking about these things. And then, I came to a realization that I can't really blame my brother-in-law for what happened to my cousin sister, because it's a society that that makes us think and behave in a certain way. So you have to question the larger sociological, political situations and not blame individuals for what they do. Like look at Sikhism itself. Like if you read Guru Granth Sahib, if you read our guru, what they preached, and the kind of argument they had with the Orthodox Islam and Hindu. But then you look at the Gurdwara and you walk into the Gurdwara, all the rituals that gurus fought against are actually followed in the Gurdwaras now.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
like our Gurbani says that how can you blame, how can you say that people who eat non-veg are impure? You know, like it's there in the Gurbani. But I have met Granthi who don't let you walk into the Gurdwara if you have eaten egg. Where in Guru Granth Sahib it's written that you can't enter a Gurdwara after eating egg or non-veg food? You know, where has it written? So all those rituals, they have come back. You know, like our fight was against uh, ritualized religion, which falls into the hand of selected few powerful men, mainly Brahmin, and we try to snatch it away from them. But then we are becoming Brahmin now in
Yeah.
the Gurdwaras, you know. so,
So,
so, so that was the understanding that I got. So I wanted to shoot the film in Punjab, honestly. But my producer said I can make it cheap in Uttarakhand. So that's how we shot it in Uttarakhand. Yeah.
so was it that was that the most difficult part? You know, getting into that territory of faith and ritualism. Was it challenging for you? How to handle it in this film? It's
At the
not an
writing
outright
and
indictment. It's not an
at the
outright indictment.
right,
Yeah.
yeah, at the writing level, it was the most fulfilling part actually. You know, like researching, questioning myself, questioning the religion, questioning the Brahminism, even questioning my own religion, Sikhism, and wondering how, like what I was speaking about, how the things that we fought have come back into the religion. Uh, Shooting it was also fun because when I went to Uttarakhand for research, we found about Jagar, and Jagar is such a beautiful ritual that shooting it was also great fun. What was difficult to arrive at the end that I arrived at, you know, in the film, that to find that end was very difficult because I kept I'm not somebody who thinks about the world in a black and white, that this is right and this is wrong. I can question a lot. I can question a lot about my own judgments also, you know, like what I, and I can change my, I, it's also possible that if you hear me 3 years down the line and you hear me, you might find me contradictory. But that's because I have read more, I have observed more, so I have changed my thought, you know. So when I went into making the film, I was completely against all these rituals, you know, like shamanic ritual and everything. But as I researched more and observed more, I slowly understood that some of those rituals have a purpose. Uh, as a society, what has happened, we have lost the scientific understanding of why those rituals are there and how they can help. You know, that's something we have, and also the modern science has made it even more complicated by placing all those rituals into superstition and saying that they don't help at all, which is not true. You know, which is not true. These rituals have their own place. For example, these rituals cannot cure you from diabetes or cancer. They cannot, you know, but uh, by the kind of music that is used that puts you in a trance. Okay, if you are somebody who is suffering with a lot of mental agony, it can be depression, some anything, you know, like you are really troubled in your head, and here is a ritual where you can dance on a trippy music, you can shout, you can yell, and you know something can happen, that you can transcend the physical reality and enter into some alternative reality, and something inside your brain can shift. Like if you study neurology, we all know that the brain is capable of finding new pathways. You
Right.
know, we all know that the brain is capable of of looking at the same thing in so many different ways. Like you can look at one event and say this is a sad event, but you can also study this event from another angle and make peace with it. So I think something happens during these rituals also that we change. So they have a place, not to cure cancer, not to cure diabetes, and I
But
don't think God or
some men,
goddesses come.
but some
Sorry.
mental thoughts can be clear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So how do I? So I wanted to bring that into the story, like that it has a place in the world, and also I wanted to question the birth of a miracle. I mean, that could have been another name of the film, actually, The Birth of a Miracle. So if you see the film, we all know that it's not a miracle,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
you know.
In fact,
But
coming,
I
yeah,
think this is
coming.
how all the miracles are born, like whether it's the jadus of this new Sai Baba who burns the coins in his hand, or many other god man who claim to have access to the god and they create those miracles. I'm saying there are no miracles. If you really, really study, you will find a logical, scientific, rational explanation behind every miracle. Yeah.
But but that boy, I mean, your protagonist's son, is he? I mean, like, what? Who does he represent? I mean, is he a mute spectator? Is he like us? I mean, he symbolizes far more than just a child.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for asking this question. In fact, we had more footage of the boy, you know, and there was an edit where we explained it much more about who is this boy and why is he doing what he is doing. And something very interesting happened with the film. The moment we tried to place more of him into the film, we would lose empathy for Chandra. We would not feel frustrated how Chandra feels frustrated about because we suddenly had more understanding about the boy. And so when we took out those scenes and when we don't understand why the boy is doing what he is doing, our frustration is like Chandra. So that was the reason why we took it out. So I don't want to answer in a way that is not available in the film anymore. But I can tell you this much. Uh, like when I was in the school, I didn't want to go to school, you know, because I grew up I'm from Punjab, but I grew up in Gujarat at the peak of anti-Sikh sentiments in the country, like just after the murder of Indira Gandhi, you
84.
know. So I was in Gujarat in the villages, and my classmate and my class teacher they had called me Antagwadi, terrorist, because I was the only Sikh boy in the class. So I hated school. I didn't want to go to school, and I would find any reason to not go to the school. you know so this is how this boy is. He's bullied. He can be bullied for many 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 reasons, like he just doesn't want to go to school and he doesn't realize what he's doing to everybody by lying. Yeah.
Yeah, but the film has, I mean, like, I was reading a few reviews. Some have found it a critique of the touristy picture we have of the mountains. Some have found it as, as the struggle of a woman, and of course there is also the inner shakti of a woman which comes out in the climax. But how do you perceive your movie?
I always find it very difficult to answer this question. How do I perceive my films? I would quote Haruki Murakami here, not exactly, but kind of. And he said, that if he knew what he was writing, why would he write it?
But
You know, so
but you
something that so that's something that happens while you write. You know, you think you're writing this theme, you think you're writing about this, but as you write, it just keeps changing, it keeps changing, it keeps changing, and by the end of your writing, you don't really know what what you really wanted to achieve. You kind of end up having some character in your hand. But yeah, yeah, I
uh,
never know actually.
yeah, so tell me, I mean, like we have First Love. Is there something like First Love for your debut feature film? You know, there's nothing like First Love, and since this is your debut film, I mean, is this the most precious one for you?
Ah, yeah, of course. I mean, it is more precious. But you know, like the way we made this film, like uh, we shot and we edited, and then the lockdown came, you know,
Yeah,
and so all the premiere of the film have been virtual, apart from one screening at Dharamshala Film Festival, which was physical. So for a year and a half, the film kept traveling, but not me or Molly. We went nowhere with the film. So in fact, when the premiere happened at Dharamshala, I had kind of forgotten that I have made a film. You
okay.
know, because there was no experience of. There's something else when you sit with the audience in a dark cinema hall and they watch your film, and then the end of the film you engage with the audience as a community,
Yeah,
not as a virtual individual who are messaging me on Instagram now after watching the film. It's very they are doing 10 things when they are talking to me, and I'm doing 10 things when I'm
yeah.
responding to their question.
Mhm.
So it is special because it's the first film, but it doesn't feel like my first film somehow. You
Fair
know,
enough.
because of pandemic and virtual release and everything. So I would like to treat my next film as my first film.
And what is that going to be?
Ah, I can't reveal it right now.
You can't. Okay, will
Yeah,
it
yeah,
be
I
based
can't.
in Punjab? I mean, that much you can answer.
It is based in Punjab. Yes, yes,
Punjabi
yeah.
story, but this is going to be a film, not a web series.
I'm directing. I'm also writing and directing a web series. So I'm working on two projects. One is a web series. One is a film. Film is based in Punjab.
Okay, and you can't even talk about the web series.
Web series, yeah. I mean, web series is set in Bombay, and that is a story of it's a story of class war, basically. You know, like how that various classes, like the super rich and middle class, and the people at the bottom, they interact with each other, and unknowingly, they sort of exploit each other. So
And yes, yes, please go on. Yeah,
yeah, so it's a story set in Bombay or about the interaction of various classes. Yeah.
and you written it as well, and you
Yeah,
like,
I'm writing it with help of some other writers. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and we were talking about the love for a film. What about the love of your life? How much has Molly helped you in your creative journey?
A lot, a lot. Uh, I mean, you call it whatever you want to call, but I was a struggling filmmaker before I met Molly.
So,
You know, so she saw something in me. She saw a spark. She felt that I have something, and she supported me for so many years. You know, like she was the main bread earner for many years actually. Uh, Not only the bread earner, but she's also somebody who she had this energy of a doer. You know, like she doesn't. think a lot. She just does it. And I, on the other hand, was somebody who would think more. And I think I got something from her, that energy of doing things. Uh, and yeah, I mean, she's also a very, how can I say, uh, somebody who gives a feedback that is not filtered at all. So sometimes it can shatter you into pieces because she will be so brutally honest, and you're like, why you have to like trash my idea like this, you know? But it also helps you to really see that okay, uh, she just can't say that I like it if she doesn't like it. So I
So,
also learned to go to her with my ideas when they are more ready to be not shattered by her again and again.
so, so you have seen Nari Shakti up close and personal, not just in the movie.
Ha. Yeah.
And talking of fire in the mountain, I mean, like, do you see fire? I mean, like, as something positive, as a positive force, or I mean, for fire can both destroy and illuminate our lives.
So I think it's in our hand when to use the fire for the destructive manner, it's like anger. So anger is not bad, like anger is not bad. It's how we use anger is can be bad. So being angry is normal, is natural. You know, like like as a citizen, as a individual, as a director, as a husband, as a son, as a brother, we all tend to be angry. But how we use that anger? Do we use that anger to uh, demoralize somebody, to hurt someone, to destroy someone, or do we use that anger to construct something? You know, like I feel helpless and angry at the socio-political situation of the country. But what am I going to do with that anger? I want to be constructive with that anger. I want to create more stories with that anger and not shout on social media about how I am thinking and feeling every day.
A lot of that critiquing comes in the film also. I mean, there is a background commentary on the
Yeah,
past between the developed India and
yeah,
but
yeah,
what
yeah.
kind of a director are you? Are you with your actors and with other crew members? Are you an angry director or you're a
No,
calm?
I'm usually not an angry director. I don't even like shouting on the set.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, sometimes things go out of your hand, so you do shout and you do get angry on someone. Uh, but that's not something I like, and that's not something I want to be. So I try very hard to be a person who can be better organized, so that those situations where you lose your temper don't arise.
what is the toughest part of being an independent filmmaker?
Whew, very good question. And actually, such a good question for today's time. I think the most difficult part of being an independent filmmaker is not knowing what to do with your film when it's made. It's so sad, because why are you an independent filmmaker? You're an independent filmmaker because you have a voice, because you observe the world, because you're an artist, because you want to share something with the world. And also, you're an independent filmmaker because you're working outside a system. But more than working outside the system, what does being an independent filmmaker mean? Is that you question everything that is a norm, a prevalent norm, part of a system. And that includes the political system, the film industry, everything. You question everything. And and you want people to engage with with what you have observed about ourselves, our society. Uh, but that becomes so difficult. That becomes so difficult to take your film to the audience. I mean, what's the point of showing Fire in the Mountain in the film festivals? Like who are the
Yeah.
audience in the film festival? Those are the already the audience who are who kind of read literature. They kind of know what I'm talking about. They kind of relate. It's an echo chamber. They will clap. They will appreciate my craft, and they will go home. I didn't touch anybody. You want to touch the people who are on the other side. You want to touch the
That's
people. So how do
that's
you
like
take this?
converting the converted already. Yeah. Yes. But then
Yeah,
is
yeah.
is is there a way out? And in the OTT driven landscape, do you see a way out?
I thank you again for asking this question. I don't know the way out, and I don't know if anybody really knows the way out. And I think as a industry, as OTT industry and independent filmmaker, there should be more interaction between the OTT and the independent filmmaker. There should be round tables, there should be discussions and conferences to sort of, and I think that's where India is so disorganized. Like if you have look at Germans, Japanese, French, even British or even South Korean, uh, they have bodies. Even US has Sundance and has film independent. They have these bodies that are that represents the collective voice of independent filmmaker. So when you have a collective voice, you can talk. You can even talk to a gorilla uh, like a big corporate like Netflix also. But in India, we don't have a collective. Like I'm angry when I about my film, but I don't feel so much when it will be another filmmaker's film. That filmmaker will fight his own battle. I'm fighting my own. We are not coming together.
But would you say a series like Tabar would be a middle ground somewhere? Or
So, that brings me to another thing where I'm going to contradict myself again. I, uh, I don't think like an independent filmmaker or a mainstream filmmaker when I make films. I just make them.
feel yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Like it's not like I'm trying to make Tabbar as a art house or Tabbar as a mainstream. The material talks to you. The material tells you that I want the poetry of Baba Farid, that that I want to enjoy how you shoot the violence in my story, like it talks to you. So I just listen to the material and I shoot. It's not that I don't have a, in fact, I made 3 short films thinking that I will get into film festival with these short films, you know. So there
Yeah.
was sort of expectation of where I wanted to go with those films. And you know what? None of those films went to a festival.
But how important? But
So when
how
I
important?
made So can I finish this? So when I was shooting my fourth short film, I decided not to think about the film festival or the audience and not to think. I just wanted to think, okay, what is this material? How am I connected to this material? And what is the truth in this story that I want to illuminate? And I focused all my energy on illuminating that truth. And that was a short film that really traveled. So that day I made a promise to myself that I'm not going to think about awards and festivals and appreciation and money and all that. No, I'm only going to think about what is the profound truth in this story that I would like to illuminate for the audience and in a way that when they watch it and when they are walking home, they should leave the place and they should keep thinking about what was it, you know? Because I, as an audience, as a reader, as a filmmaker, love stories and film that make me think, that stays with me till next morning, till next month.
Right.
So that's all I want to do, not create art house cinema.
So follow the truth, and truth will find its way, right?
Yeah.
But then, of course, in your movie and your series, truth has many shades. I mean, and the world that we are living in. So you would like
Yeah,
to capture all the shades of that
yeah,
truth.
yeah.
Right. Right. Okay. Thank you, Ajit. Thanks so much for talking to me, and a pleasure listening to you and watching your work. And all the best for your future. And we are
Thank
really looking
you.
forward to the movie based in Punjab. I wish you could have told us a little more about it. But
I think
okay,
in
next.
few weeks I will be allowed to talk about it.
Right. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, yeah. Bye bye.